Okay. Then call the meeting to order and call the roll. Commissioner Baker,
Present.
Commissioner Bluestone,
Here.
Commissioner Carruthers,
Present.
Commissioner Castillo,
Here.
Commissioner Solomon,
Present.
Commissioner Villanueva,
Here.
and the chair is here. Roll call is completed. Approval of the agenda. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Commissioner Baker, Commissioner Bluestone,
Approve.
Commissioner Carruthers,
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva.
Yes.
Chair also votes yes. Agenda is approved. On to the approval of the minutes of our October 14th meeting. Motion and second.
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Mr. Bluestone,
Yes.
Commissioner Carruthers,
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo,
Yes.
Mr. Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva.
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Minutes approved. On to the substantive portion of the meeting. Item number 4 on the agenda is advisory opinion number 2210. Becky, good morning. This is you.
Good morning, Commissioner. Good morning, Commissioners. Good morning, Chair. This is an advisory opinion that I have converted from an informal advisory opinion that I drafted. Commissioner Bluestone asked us to convert it. It deals with an individual who was a former deputy secretary of a state agency, and it addresses some of the issues regarding revolving door statutes and contracting with state agencies after you have left a state agency. In this situation, the facts presented allowed for the individual to work as a consultant for a healthcare agency after leaving the state agency, and also after the 1-year separation period, which is required under 1016-8D. It allowed them to join the corporation as an employee because the facts that were submitted did not have that individual working with any of the, or in front of any of the agencies, representing anyone in front of any of the agencies that she had previously worked with. So I stand for any questions you have on this matter.
Let's go alphabetically. Commissioner Baker, anything?
No questions.
All right, Mr. Bluestone.
I just think it's very well done, and I think this provides good guidance on this revolving door issue. And I thank Becky for the opinion and for converting it. And I think Jeremy had written a similar one a while ago. And I think it's just good for us to get this out in the public arena. And there's a lot of sensitivity about these issues. And I just want to commend the staff for the work, and I'm happy to support it.
Great. Commissioner Carruthers,
No questions.
Commissioner Castillo.
I don't have any questions either. Well
Mr.
done.
Solomon? Commissioner Solomon? Hearing nothing. Commissioner Villanueva?
He's on mute.
Commissioner Villanueva? I think you're muted too, Judy. So,
No questions from me, Mr. Chair.
thank you.
None for me either.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Becky. Is there a motion and a second to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All right, I went through the discussion part already. Commissioner Baker,
I approve.
Commissioner Bluestone,
Yes.
Commissioner Carruthers,
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo,
I approve.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva,
Yes.
your votes yes. Let the opinion issue. Thanks, Becky, very much.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioner.
Next is the Annual Open Meetings Act Resolution 2207. Walker.
Thanks, Chair and Commissioners. Yes, under the Open Meetings Act, the Commission is required every year to determine the best possible notice to the public to ensure that the public is apprised of our deliberations, and the resolution 2022-07 in the public materials is the sort of written reflection of the commission staff's opinion as to the best practicable notice to the public pursuant to the Open Meetings Act. It largely reflects the resolution that was adopted a year ago by the commission on this, pursuant to the same requirement. I will note that Commissioner Bluestone provided some very helpful feedback on the resolution, noting that because of the commission's unique quorum requirements, we can't just convene a meeting pursuant to a simple majority. We do need to have a quorum vote to initiate either an emergency meeting or a regular meeting. So that is the main change from last year's Open Meetings Act resolution. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but would be seeking a motion and a second to approve this resolution 2022-07.
All right. Is there a motion and a second?
Move approval.
Second.
Thanks. It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
I'd like to ask staff,
Go ahead.
did you receive in the last year any complaints from anybody saying that the notice was inadequate or that there were any problems with how notice was being provided?
Chair and Commissioner Baker, not to my knowledge. I consider myself, I would have been made aware of such a complaint. So I don't think we have received a complaint going to the adequacy of our notices at all.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, it's been moved and seconded. Discussion closed. Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Bluestone,
Yes,
Commissioner Carruthers,
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo,
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva,
Yes.
and chair votes yes. The resolution is adopted for another year. Thank you, Walker. Number 6 is an update on settlements, litigation, and pre-litigation matters. That's you, Jeremy.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Commissioners, this is information that you've been made aware of before. This is really for the benefit of the public. At materials 20 through 24, we've provided to the public two settlement agreements in litigated matters that the commission has authorized. The first is the lawsuit of State Ethics Commission versus Mr. Gabriel Vargas and Double Legal Real Estate LLC. This is an action that the commission authorized and we filed over a year ago. It relates to revolving door claims of a former commercial appraiser in Sandoval County and the tax consultancy that he then went to work for. I'm very pleased with this settlement. The commission received $13,000 in exchange for dismissing the claims in this matter. These are Governmental Conduct Act claims, and the maximum civil penalty under the Governmental Conduct Act is $5,000. But in this matter, the commission was pursuing disgorgement of the profits that Double Legal had made pursuant to what we viewed as Mr. Vargas's unlawful representations in violation of the revolving door rules of the Governmental Conduct Act. $13,000 is about the amount of profit that Double Legal received from, or the payment rather, that Double Legal received from Presbyterian Healthcare Services for their work on the Russ Medical Center. So I think this is a very good settlement, and it shows that the State Ethics Commission's attorney staff can really get in there and litigate a case. This case involved motion practice, it involved depositions, and ultimately we achieved a settlement that was a fair amount of disgorgement and well beyond the maximum civil penalty. And so I think it's a very good settlement for the commission and for the state and for the statutes that we're pursuing. The second settlement is really it relates to Ms. Mary Lou Kern, who is a former county manager and a current commissioner of Colfax. And because Casey did the bulk of the work on this litigated matter, and because she's here with us, I'd like for her to present it.
Good morning, everybody, Chair, Commissioners. We sought approval to pursue a civil enforcement action on this matter. I believe at the last commission meeting, Ms. Kern was the former county attorney for Colfax County, and in that position, she personally and substantially worked on an RFP concerning Colfax County's jail's medical care. And following her resignation from her position with the county, she was employed by Roadrunner Healthcare LLC. And Roadrunner ultimately was the only bidder on the RFP. And her involvement and representation of Roadrunner in that RFP process before Colfax County was a violation of Section 8, both B and D, which of the Governmental Conduct Act, both of which prohibit separate types of representation. The first being representation on a matter on which the former government employee worked while as a government employee, and the second being work before the former agency within 1 year for pay. And it was our contention that she violated both of those provisions. After receiving authorization from the commission, we were able to enter into a pre-litigation settlement with Ms. Kern. We've settled the matter for $500 and an agreement that she will continue to abide by the terms of the revolving door provisions of the Governmental Conduct Act. The $500, as you know, is 2 violations of the Governmental Conduct Act at $250 each. So,
Thank you, Casey. And commissioners, we've received all of the payments that are owing and due to the commission as a result of these settlements. And there's no action to take, Chair. It's just an update for your benefit and for the public. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioners, any of you have any pressing thoughts, comments, or questions?
Mr. Chairman.
For Jeremy or Casey?
Mr. Chairman, I'm
Yes,
still concerned about the low level of contributions from these people who violate the act. And I understand that may be the maximum we're allowed to fine them, but it seems to me that that's a fairly minor slap on the wrist for some of these activities. I'm not sure we're going to get much of a learning experience out of it at $250 a pop.
I agree. And I think that this points out the need to increase the penalty provisions in the Governmental Conduct Act, which we've talked about before and which I understand we will be proposing in our legislative package. I think the governor makes an excellent point that while we've received the maximum amount of penalties we could have under the existing law, those maximum amounts are too low to have a real impact. But I think that the staff has done an excellent job on these matters, and consistent with the advisory opinion we just approved, it shows that this revolving door issue is a significant one. And we're paying good attention to it, I think, here at the commission. But I believe that both of these cases, as well as the earlier opinion, indicate how important it is for us to provide increased penalties in the Governmental Conduct Act for these violations like these revolving door ones. But I also want to commend the people who come forward to ask for advice before they get into circumstances like the advisory opinion we reviewed before. But I think our commission has done an excellent job, and I think these cases show that we're going to take revolving door violations as seriously as the law permits us to. And I think that we're getting the right message out on these. But I agree wholly with the governor that both of these cases show the need to increase the penalty provisions that are in the existing law.
Yeah, I would just like to add to what the governor and Stuart just said. With respect to the DeVargas Double Eagle matter, I understand that Michael Cadigan, former Albuquerque city councilor, was the mediator. And my understanding is he was very effective in helping the parties resolve the case. Second, I think it's important to note that the media covered that settlement, which is good because it lets others know that we do take these cases seriously. They will be litigated in appropriate circumstances. And so it highlights the work of the commissioner. So the media ought to be commended. And with respect to the current Colfax County issue, as others have said, $250 a pop just is not enough. And the legislature will have an opportunity, I hope, to consider increasing that amount.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. We'll now look for a motion and a second to go into executive session per statute.
Chair, we're not ready for that yet. We've got a couple of other items.
That's what, I must have downloaded the wrong agenda because that's what my next thing is.
So I'm looking at number 7 on the agenda, the 2022 annual report.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had already crossed that off. Sorry. As usual, you're right.
This is the good part.
Let's go to the annual report, Jeremy, and next time it'll be a little bit prompter, would you?
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. As you know, we have an annual duty to provide the governor and the legislature recommendations regarding the state's ethics laws and the commission's jurisdiction. We do that in our annual report to the governor and the legislature that provides just an update on the commission's progress, what we've been up to over the past year. We give a review of our financial statements, of the outcome of our audit. And then we go to, as Commissioner Bluestone said, our legislative agenda. The annual report, the draft annual report is here as part of the public material meetings. I won't go through the items that we've done this year, the work that we've done this year. You are all well familiar with it. I will say that we normally submit this at the very end of December, and that way we're able to account for the administrative complaints and the advisory opinion work that we do through December in our accounting of the numbers. I also want to note that on page SEC 33, the fiscal report, this is currently redacted because the outcome of our audit and our financial statements, and you all already know the outcome of our audit. Until the office of the state auditor, approves the outcome of a state agency's audit, we're not at liberty to share that. And I've asked for expedited approval from the state auditor's office to release this information, but we haven't received it yet. So I can't today kind of announce the outcome of our audit for FY 2022. But when we have that approval, our financial statement and the outcome of our audit will be here on SEC 33. Moving on, the main point of this part of the agenda item is really to discuss and get some approvals from the commission on our legislative agenda for the 2023 legislative session. And so, commissioners, in this draft document, this draft set of legislative recommendations, there are 4 main pieces of legislation that I'm hoping the commission will recommend to the governor and the legislature. And I'm going to go a little out of order with respect to how they're presented in the document, because I think some of them will merit more discussion than others. So first, the first is the Disclosure Act. The Disclosure Act is a piece of legislation, a bill that you've seen before. It was introduced last legislative session, last regular session, by Representatives McQueen, Garrett, Townsend, and Senator Tallman. It was House Bill 149. It wasn't germane because it didn't contain an appropriation, and it did not have the favor of a message. So it really didn't get any kind of hearing or review in the legislature last session. The Disclosure Act, I think, is again another piece of legislation the commission needs to push for. We have had some success in this area. We've worked with the Albuquerque City Clerk's office on an ordinance that is very similar to the Disclosure Act. And the Albuquerque City Council on Monday night passed a financial disclosure ordinance that is word for word the same requirements as the Disclosure Act across a number of categories of disclosure. And that's a huge accomplishment, and credit goes to the Albuquerque City Clerk, Ethan Watson, and the council and the counselors that sponsored and introduced that. It's a massive it's a massive achievement in the area of financial disclosure law in New Mexico. And I'm hoping we can just build on that, on Albuquerque's good work as a model for the legislature itself. This year, the plan is for Senator Tallman to be the lead sponsor of this bill and to start it on the Senate side. And Representative Garrett will also be co-sponsoring. But there's no changes with respect to last year with respect to the Disclosure Act. And that's the first piece of legislation that I'd ask the commission to recommend. Second, there's a bill that the staff has been working on with the LFC staff related to changes to the procurement code. This is really LFC's bill, and I hope that the LFC will endorse it the day before the session begins. But because it makes, I think, needed amendments to sole source procurement, to some of the enforcement mechanisms in the procurement code, because it speaks to concerns that I think the staff has had with respect to caps and disclosure requirements on purchases pursuant to statewide price agreements. This bill addresses a number of areas across the procurement code. And I think it's a good bill. The procurement code is one of our core statutes as well. And I'd ask that the commission recommend this one as well. Next is the Campaign Reporting Act. So there is a bill that it combines some legislative work that has happened in previous sessions, bills that Senator Worth has sponsored in previous sessions, and includes some other new ideas. The Campaign Reporting Act discussion draft that's kind of linked here in the annual report. This is a bill that has two principal objectives. The first is to expand the disclosure requirements for independent expenditures, where the funding for those independent expenditures are raised out of state. We have a bit of a gap with the Campaign Reporting Act, and we could do a better job requiring disclosure of monies raised out of state that are ultimately spent on independent expenditures in New Mexico. That's the first main objective of this bill. The second main objective of this bill is to provide some regulations around loans that candidates make to their own campaign committees. Right now in New Mexico, we do not have very much law governing proof that loans were actually made, disclosure of loan terms. We don't have any rules surrounding whether or not a candidate can charge their campaign committee interest on those loans. And this bill kind of comes to fill in some of those gaps or omissions really that we have in our campaign finance reporting law in New Mexico. This is a bill that Senator Katie Duhigg will sponsor and introduce on the Senate side, obviously. And I believe that Senator Duhigg intends to pre-file this bill. The next legislative, I guess, initiative bill that I'd ask the commission to recommend to the legislature and governor is a bill to improve the Governmental Conduct Act. And this bill is one that does work across a number of sections in the Governmental Conduct Act. To Governor Carruthers and Commissioner Bluestone's point, it would increase the maximum civil penalty for Governmental Conduct Act violations. It would remove the per violation limit of $250 and thus really enable a a judge or a hearing officer or the commission to decide what's the appropriate penalty within the maximum range. This bill, it also in a way responds to the Supreme Court's holding in Gutierrez with respect to the Supreme Court's opinion as to Section 3 of the Governmental Conduct Act. This bill creates a new declaration of purpose and policy section in the Governmental Conduct Act. It clarifies conduct regulating provisions in the Governmental Conduct Act with respect to some of the main duties. It brings in substantive requirements from the Hatch Act in amending Section 3.1 of the Governmental Conduct Act with respect to providing a little bit more guidance with respect to what folks in government can do in terms of campaigning. It also makes clear that revolving door violations, that liability for revolving door violations fall not only on the former government employee, but also the business that hires them and puts them up to the revolving door violation. I've had the opportunity to discuss the current discussion draft a bit with Commissioner Bluestone. I think that there's one way in which the current discussion draft that's linked here needs a little bit more of an addition. There needs to, this bill should also include a provision that prevents not only the misuse of government power, but the use of an ultra virus function of government office to benefit the person in government or anyone else. And so there's one slight addition that I asked the sponsor to include to the bill that's linked here before you. The sponsor for this bill will be Senator Linda Lopez currently, and that's where this bill sits. So those are the four kind of main legislative recommendations that we've really taken the pin on with respect to the drafting work on these bills and thinking through the policies behind them. Our annual report contains a few other recommendations with respect to legislation that we haven't taken the pin on, but I think it's a good idea. And this really just follows on from last year's annual report. So there are recommendations regarding amendments to the Lobbyist Regulation Act for further disclosures and transparency of lobbyists with respect to what they're lobbying on. Senator Steinborn has asked the commission for its support along these ideas as he did last year. Also, out of the commission's special report for 2021 regarding the commission's expansion of the commission's jurisdiction, last year the commission recommended expansion of the commission's subject matter jurisdiction to cover certain core ethical provisions of the New Mexico Constitution, to include the emoluments clause and several of the extra compensation clauses. And I think that those are also recommendations that the commission should pursue. And finally, commissioners, I want to alert you that Representative Figueroa has been working quite deliberately on a draft joint resolution that would create an independent redistricting commission, and that would give the State Ethics Commission an important role in the selection of the commissioners that would sit on an independent redistricting commission. And that is a piece of legislation that Representative Figueroa has asked for my input on, and I've provided that. It's not really an ethics statute, and it's not quite within the remit of this work, but it's peripheral to what we do, and it would affect the work of the commission every 10 years in a way that would require a decent amount of work from the commission staff and the commissioners. And with that, Chair and Commissioners, that is an overview of our legislative agenda that I'd ask the commission to support and recommend to the governor and the legislature.
All right, let me first ask for a motion and a second to approve, and then we'll discuss it. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second.
Second,
Thank you. Moved and seconded. Commissioner Baker,
No questions?
Commissioner Bluestone,
Do you want questions and comments now on the legislative proposals?
yeah,
Or do
the
you-
whole, anything that's contained in the report, so.
Okay,
which is anything Jeremy just discussed, yeah.
okay. First, Jeremy, thanks for the draft annual report. It's really excellent. And it really does an excellent overview of all the work we've done. In terms of the specific recommendations for legislation, I agree with the recommendation, as we've discussed before, about requiring legislators to disclose publicly before they take a vote on a matter, whether they have a close family member, as described here to mean a spouse, a child, a parent, or a sibling who is lobbying on the bill. But I think we also ought to clarify that that disclosure should be made not only before a floor vote, but also before a committee vote. And it's ambiguous, I think, in the current language. I think that the legislator should have to disclose what the position of the family member who is lobbying on the bill is. I mean, they may still, of course, decide to vote for or against it, but I think it's in the public interest for people to know if a legislator has a family member who's lobbying on a bill, not only that they have a family member who's lobbying on the bill, but what the position of that family member has been on the bill. And again, I'd like to see it clarified so that that disclosure has to be made before a vote in committee as well as a vote on the floor. And I thank you again for working with me on the amendment to the Governmental Conduct Act to clarify that you also can't take an act to benefit anybody else, even if you're not getting any financial benefit. If you're trying to do something to help a family member or a friend, and that's really your motivation, that's an unlawful use of your public trust in your public office. I may have some language that I'd like to talk to you about for tweaking what you sent me yesterday, but I am in favor of the idea to clarify that that should also be made unlawful expressly in the Governmental Conduct Act. And with those two, I think, relatively minor comments, I think the annual report is excellent, and I'm happy to support it. And I commend Jeremy and the staff again for all the outstanding work that's been done over the past year. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart. Commissioner Carruthers?
Jeremy, in terms of the redistricting bill, it's not our bill, but you're working with them because of the connection to the Ethics Commission. Is this bill building upon the more recent one that was utilized in redistricting? Is it a completely different bill, but does it take into account some of the complaints about the geographic distribution of the membership of that particular group?
Thanks, Chair and Governor Carruthers. It is work that builds off of the Redistricting Act that created and guided the work of the Citizen Redistricting Committee. And that is one of Representative Figueroa's core concerns in working on this joint resolution. The differences would be, I think, that the Independent Redistricting Commission would be a little larger. I think the current idea is for a 9-member Independent Redistricting Commission as opposed to a 7-member commission. There are some instructions in drafts of this joint resolution that I've seen to the State Ethics Commission to solicit a large number of applications and to receive at least 38 qualified applicants from across the state for these positions. There's also instructions to the commission in its work to that the selection of the 9 should be reflective of the geographic diversity and diversity of the state along a number of different ways. So Governor, yes, Representative Figueroa is working to improve on the Citizen Redistricting Committee bill and process in this version.
Thank you.
Commissioner Castillo.
Yes, I want to commend Jeremy and staff for this annual report. It's very comprehensive. And one of the things that I really liked is, depending on what the topic is, you can click on it and get the additional information. And that is tremendous when you evaluate the topic, and it's tremendous as far as providing the backup information for this annual report. So I don't have any questions, but I just want to thank you, Jeremy, and the staff for doing such a good job.
Thank you. Commissioner Solomon.
Great report. I don't have any questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Commissioner Villanueva.
Yes, Jeremy, on the proposed bill, will the Ethics Commission still be responsible for selecting 3 of those members?
So for the current draft of the joint resolution to create an independent redistricting commission, it would work roughly as follows. The commission would be responsible for soliciting and receiving applications from at least 38 qualified applicants, which would mean that the commission also would have to screen the applicants along the qualifications. The commission would have responsibility to send those 38 nominations to the legislative leadership, and the legislative leadership would have a certain number of strikes to strike down from the 38 to, say, 30 or thereabouts. The commissioners would then pick from those 39. The current version of the joint resolution would require that of the 9, 3 be Republicans, 3 be Democrats, and 3 be declined to state, and that one of the 9, who is the chair, would be a retired judge or justice. And that's a rough overview of the kind of current idea around this bill. But Commissioner Villanueva, you should know that that's one idea, and there are many ideas for this process, and it will be something that's very dynamic as it moves through the legislature.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah, I'm guessing there'll be about 112 different ideas in keeping with tradition. So anyway, yes, I will echo the thanks that the others have suggested. And if there being no further discussion, let's put the motion to a vote in consideration of Commissioner Bluestone's comments, which Jeremy has agreed to, and we'll work with him on. Commissioner Baker.
Yes.
Commissioner Bluestone.
Yes.
Commissioner Carruthers.
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo.
Yes.
Commissioner Solomon.
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. The annual report is adopted as drafted. Thank you very much, Jeremy. Okay, now can we? All right. All right. So is there a motion and a second to go into executive session per statute?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Bluestone,
Yes.
Commissioner Carruthers,
Yes.
Castillo,
Yes.
Mr. Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva.
Yes.
Chair votes yes. We are now we are all met again, it looks like. So back in open session, we were on item number 13 on the agenda, authorization of civil actions. Jeremy.
Thank you, Chair. Suha, are you ready to catch all the votes?
Yes, as best as I can.
Okay, thanks. Okay, Chair and Commissioners, the commission staff seek authorization for the filing of a civil action against Yvonne Otero to remedy violations of the Governmental Conduct Act and to refer to the 7th District Attorney, the District Attorney for the 7th Judicial District to initiate removal proceedings against Ms. Otero.
Thank you. Is there a motion and a second to?
So
approve?
moved.
Second,
All right, any discussion? If not, Commissioner Bluestone, Commissioner Baker, I'm sorry,
Yes.
Commissioner Bluestone. Stuart,
he's muted.
Yes,
thank you. Commissioner Carruthers,
Yes,
Commissioner Castillo,
Yes,
Mr. Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva.
yes,
Chair votes yes. The authorization is granted. Item 13B.
Thank you, Chair. Chair and Commissioners, the staff seek authorization to send a demand letter and if necessary, to file civil action against Bernadine Martin, the District Attorney for the 11th Judicial District for McKinley to remedy violations of the procurement code.
Thank you. Is there a motion and a second?
so move.
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Hearing none. Commissioner Baker, do you approve?
Yes.
Commissioner Bluestone,
Yes,
Commissioner Carruthers,
yes,
Commissioner Castillo,
yes,
Mr. Solomon,
Yes.
Mr. Villanueva.
yes,
Chair votes yes, the authorization shall issue. 13C. Jeremy?
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. The staff seeks an authorization to send a demand letter and if necessary, file a civil action against Stephanie Stringer for violations of the Governmental Conduct Act.
Motion a second.
so move.
second,
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Bluestone,
yes,
Commissioner Carruthers,
yes,
Commissioner Castillo,
Yes,
Commissioner Solomon.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Villanueva.
yes.
Chair votes yes, the authorization is granted. Next is actions on administrative complaints. Agenda item 14.
Thank you, Chair. I think we can group together. The staff seeks a dismissal for lack of jurisdiction of the following administrative complaints. And none of the commissioners are recused on the following administrative complaints. 2022-044, 2022-042, 2022-041, and 2022-039.
All right, is there a motion to approve the dismissal
So move.
second,
for lack of jurisdiction? Any discussion? All right, Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Bluestone,
yes,
Commissioner Carruthers,
yes,
Commissioner Castillo,
yes,
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva.
Yes,
Chair votes yes. So 2239, 2241, 2242, and 2244 are dismissed for lack of jurisdiction. Jeremy?
Thank you, Chair and Commissioner Baker. This is the one that on which you were recused. The staff seek a dismissal for lack of jurisdiction on an administrative complaint, 2022-043.
Okay, is there a motion, a second?
so move.
Thank you.
second,
Any no discussion? So Commissioner Bluestone,
Yes,
Commissioner Carruthers,
yes,
Commissioner Castillo,
yes,
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva.
yes,
Chair votes yes, and note Commissioner Baker's recusal. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. On administrative complaint number 2022-37, the staff seek a dismissal under sections 1016G 9C and 9D of the State Ethics Commission Act.
All right, Motion
for administrative complaint 2022-037.
37, correct. Is there a motion and a second?
So move.
Second,
Second,
Any discussion? Hearing none, Commissioner Baker, your vote,
yes,
Commissioner Bluestone,
yes,
Commissioner Carruthers,
yes,
Commissioner Solomon,
yes,
Commissioner Villanueva,
yes,
chair votes yes.
You forgot me.
Huh? Oh, I'm sorry, I was writing Commissioner Castillo.
Yes,
Thank you for, and apologize for the oversight.
no
All right.
problem.
Motion carries. Dismissed.
Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. On administrative complaints 2022-006, 2022-030, and 2022-27. The staff seek a 90-day extension.
All right, is there a motion in a second?
so moved,
second,
Any discussion? Hearing none. Commissioner Baker,
yes,
Commissioner Bluestone,
yes,
Commissioner Carruthers,
yes,
Commissioner Castillo,
Yes,
Mr. Solomon,
yes,
Commissioner Villanueva.
yes,
Chair votes yes, for 2206, 22030, and 22027. 90-day extensions are granted.
Thank you, Chair. Chair and Commissioners, for administrative complaint number 2022-015, I'm requesting your authorization to seek a subpoena from Judge Hunter, who's the assigned subpoena judge for the commission, for evidence related to the general counsel's investigation in this administrative proceeding.
Okay, is there a motion, a second?
so moved,
second,
Any discussion? Hearing none, Commissioner Baker,
yes,
Mr. Bluestone,
yes,
Commissioner Carruthers,
yes,
Commissioner Castillo,
yes,
Commissioner Villanueva, or Solomon, I'm sorry,
yes,
Commissioner Villanueva.
yes,
Chair votes yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I apologize for this, but I believe I'll ask for the commission to redo a vote on administrative complaint number 2022-30. I was remiss in not catching this. To begin with, Commissioner Bluestone, I believe you're recused from the vote on that administrative complaint. And if the chair wouldn't mind redoing the vote for the commission staff's request for a 90-day extension on administrative complaint number 2022-30.
Thank you. And the motion in the second.
so move.
Thank you.
So
And
moved.
Commissioner Baker,
yes,
Commissioner Bluestone is recused, Commissioner Carruthers,
yes,
and Commissioner Castillo,
Yes,
Commissioner Solomon,
yes,
Commissioner Villanueva.
yes,
Chair votes yes, motion carries with Commissioner Bluestone's recusal.
Thank you, Chair. On administrative complaint number 2022-18, which is the matter of Quintero versus Maestas, the staff seeks approval of the settlement that the general counsel has entered in with the respondent.
Motion and second.
so moved,
second,
Thank you. No discussion. Commissioner Baker,
yes,
Mr. Bluestone,
yes,
Mr. Carruthers,
yes,
Commissioner Castillo,
yes,
Commissioner Solomon,
yes,
Commissioner Villanueva.
yes,
Thank you. Chair votes yes. Settlement is approved.
Thank you, Chair. For administrative complaint number 2022-32, which is the matter of Gallegos versus Cynthia for an in-house and a campaign committee for Cynthia Borrego, the staff seeks the commission's approval of the settlement agreement that the general counsel entered into with the respondent.
Motion is second.
so moved,
second,
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none. Commissioner Baker,
yes,
Mr. Bluestone,
yes,
Commissioner Carruthers,
yes,
Mr. Castillo,
yes,
Mr. Solomon,
yes,
Mr. Villanueva.
yes,
Chair votes yes, motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. For administrative complaint number 2022-33, which is the matter of Muma versus Corn Best, the commission staff seek the commission's approval of the settlement agreement that the Deputy General Counsel entered into with Ms. Cornbest.
Thank you. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
Second,
Thank you. No discussion? Okay, Commissioner Baker,
yes.
Commissioner Bluestone,
Yes.
Commissioner Carruthers,
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo.
yes,
Mr. Solomon,
Yes.
Mr. Villanueva,
yes,
chair votes yes, settlement is approved. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. On administrative complaint number 2022-34, which is the matter of YL versus Sickler, the staff seek the commission's approval of the settlement agreement that the General Counsel entered into with the respondent.
Motion in a second.
so move,
Second,
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, Commissioner Baker,
yes.
Commissioner Bluestone,
Yes.
Commissioner Carruthers,
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo,
yes,
Commissioner Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva,
yes,
and chair votes yes, settlement is approved. That's all for you, right, Jeremy?
Yes, sir. Over to Ms. Branch.
Over to Ms. Branch for the administrative matters under the revised uniform law on notarial acts.
Commissioners and Chair, staff seeks motion to dismiss NCA and complaint in Re Notary Public Commission of Perez 2022 NP05.
Thank you. Is there a motion a second?
so move,
Second.
Any discussion? Commissioner Baker,
Yes,
Mr. Bluestone,
Yes.
Mr. Carruthers.
Yes.
Mr. Castillo.
yes,
Mr. Solomon,
Yes.
Mr. Villanueva.
yes,
The chair votes yes. Motion carries. Next,
Staff seeks a motion to dismiss the complaint in Re Notary Public Commission of Miller 2022 NP10.
thank you. Is there a motion and a second?
So moved.
second,
Any discussion? Hearing none, Commissioner Baker,
yes.
Mr. Bluestone,
Yes.
Mr. Castillo, or Carruthers, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Mr. Castillo,
yes,
Mr. Solomon,
Yes.
Mr. Villanueva.
yes,
Chair votes yes, motion carries, case is dismissed.
Staff seeks motion to issue a default order in Re Notary Public Commission of Galloway 2022 NP 13, and that default order would be preventing Ms. Galloway from reapplying or getting a commission, a notary public commission, until she's taken care of the NCA that's currently outstanding.
So moved.
second,
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, Commissioner Baker,
Yes,
Commissioner Bluestone,
Yes.
Commissioner Carruthers.
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo,
yes,
Mr. Solomon,
Yes.
Mr. Villanueva.
yes,
Chair votes yes. Motion carries.
Chair and Commissioners, staff seeks a motion to dismiss the complaint in Re Notary Public Commission of Munch 2022 NP 15.
Is there a
So-
motion second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, Commissioner Baker,
yes.
Commissioner Bluestone,
Yes.
Commissioner Carruthers,
Yes.
Mr. Castillo,
yes,
Mr. Solomon,
Yes.
Mr. Villanueva.
yes,
Chair votes yes, motion carries. Next,
Staff seeks a motion to dismiss due to lack of jurisdiction in Re Notary Public Commission of Cordova 2022 NP 16.
is
So moved.
there a second?
Second,
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, Commissioner Baker,
yes.
Commissioner Bluestone,
Yes.
Commissioner Carruthers,
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo,
yes,
Mr. Solomon,
Yes.
Mr. Villanueva.
yes,
Chair votes yes, motion carries. Next,
And finally, Chair and Commissioners, staff seeks a motion to approve the settlement agreement in Re Notary Public Commission of Al Asi 2022 NP 17.
So moved.
Second.
Commissioner Baker,
Yes,
Mr.
Yes.
Commissioner Carruthers,
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo,
yes,
Mr. Solomon,
Yes.
Commissioner Villanueva,
yes.
chair votes yes. Motion carries. Becky, unless I missed it, I think you left Hanson out.
Did I miss that one? I apologize. I
That's
was
what
trying to
my
go down my
notes-
list.
That's what my notes.
Thank you for
say.
catching it. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Chair and Commissioners, staff seeks a motion to dismiss the complaint in re-notary public commission of Hanson 2022 NP 12.
Motion second.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Commissioner Baker,
Yes.
Commissioner Bluestone,
yes,
Commissioner Carruthers,
Yes.
Commissioner Castillo,
Yes,
Mr. Solomon,
Yes.
Mr. Villanueva,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes, the motion carries. Thank you. Discussion of the next meeting. What's the first Friday in February? It's like the 3rd, I think, isn't it?
Third,
it's the third.
Anybody have any heartburn over that, or do we need to move it to the 10th? Okay, let's do it on the 3rd. And we stay on Zoom unless something comes up that tells us we should meet in person. Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Then it'll be on February 3rd, 9 a.m. on Zoom, or via Zoom, I should say. Public comment, Walker.
All right, I guess I'll run it. If there are any members of the public who'd like to make a comment, please go ahead and use the raise hand feature in Zoom, and I will get you unmuted, and we'll open it up for public comment. All right, I see one raised hand by a gentleman who I doubt, or gentlewoman whose name I doubt is iPad. So I'd ask you to identify yourself.
Tony.
That's Tony Ortiz. Okay. All right, Mr. Ortiz, go ahead and make your comment. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Just a couple brief comments. At the outset, I'd like to say that the quantity and the quality of the work performed by the commissioners and their staff is remarkable indeed. As a former public servant, it makes me proud to see the service that's provided by this very important agency. I work with New Mexico Ethics Watch. The legislative proposals that were discussed earlier today. Thank you for getting behind them and taking them to the legislature in 2023. If enacted, they'll continue to move the ball forward in making our government here in New Mexico more transparent and provide needed services and balance to the people of New Mexico. And I just want to close by saying that even though it's not something that was discussed today, New Mexico Ethics Watch and a lot of other people and entities here in the state of New Mexico are coalescing behind an effort to modernize our state legislature. And that will involve providing compensation for legislators, changing the scope and the length of legislative sessions, providing staff for rank and file members of the legislature. I bring that up because in addition to all the other work that's been undertaken by this commission, with regards to the topic of compensation, it may well be that that the Ethics Commission will be part of that conversation as well. Perhaps the challenge is that you're doing such good work, policymakers are going to look to you for even additional responsibilities going forward. But thank you so much for your good work, and everybody enjoy a happy and a healthy holiday season. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ortiz.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
All right, I don't see any other hands raised, Chair.
All right. All right, one last shot. Anybody got anything they want to say besides happy holidays and be safe? Which I'm sure we all send around.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. And we'll see you when we see you. Meeting is
Happy
adjourned.
holidays, everyone.
Yeah,
Thanks,
same to
everybody.
you all.
Meeting is adjourned.
Be well.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.